Okay, shalom, shalom, kwam yasha'Allah, kuhaloyim la Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Kahakodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and that by the Spirit taught us this beautiful truth, and just want to say the water to all the H.I.M and Akwaf that's out here sincerely keeping the laws, the statutes, and commandments of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai to the best of their ability. This is Yachanan Nawah. Just coming at you with another quick lesson, praying that it's edifying by the Spirit. And this article is in the Military Times, and what's going on with the ceasefire is over with, of course, with America and Iran. That shit didn't last no time, which we knew it wasn't gonna last no time really overall. That third world's woe, it must happen. But it says sailors with unmanageable permanent razor bumps to face separation, Navy says, right? As you can see, this is a Jake in the mirror. So-called blacks are pretty much the only ones that experience this particular razor bump situation, because the way that our hair grows, it curls underneath our skin. And also, biblically, we're to put a razor to our face like that. So this is the law on that. Leviticus 19:27. Ye shall not round the corners of your heads, nor shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. So when you go into this word mar, it just simply means to destroy. You're not to destroy your beard. See, it says to destroy, corrupt, go to ruin, decay. See? Let me see what else. Ruin, literally or figuratively. Batter, cast off. See? You're not supposed to be. That's not our custom, man. That's Esau. Esau is into that shit. Because that's an Egyptian. Those Egyptians, is all naked face. You know what I'm saying? I think they even shave their damn eyebrows and all that shit too. Naked ass arms. Just naked skin. You know what I'm saying? The Lord He gave us a commandment to not do those things. So let's go into the article a little bit. And they had this a while back. I done a lesson on this maybe about a year or so ago, when they was first because they was giving these men an opportunity for their skin, because it was so irritable. Imagine trying to put on that goddamn helmet with that chin strap, and you got all these your neck looking like Forrest Whitaker at the back, or your chin and your cheeks and shit, just bumps and pus, and that shit is irritating, man. Okay, but it says the U.S. Navy service members with shaving waivers who are classified as having a permanent skin condition will face administration separation, the service announced Tuesday. And that's a good thing for some of these jakes, because you know what, when I was thinking about it by the Spirit, that if these men got to leave that military, it's a good chance that some of them could be some of the elect, or some of the men that are, into this truth right now. I see it's 10:44. My phone is going off over in the back, the other phone, so you might hear that for a while. That's one of the alarms. That 1:44, we get the hell out of here. But Salaki, because I'm sitting here and I want to do this lesson. I don't want to. But anyway. But that could be a blessing to a lot of these brothers. Me and my uncle down the street from me, we was just talking about the draft today. It might be a good. Well, then again, Esau, he ain't gonna give a fuck though about nothing like that. See, they already short on men anyway. No one's joining the military like that, so I can't see them really. This is some Pete Hegseth. What's the his title? Department of War guy. He came through with this bullshit. If a man got irritable skin, there's nothing he can do about that. And again, that's literally Jake. That's our so-called black man. That razor is not your friend. Okay, but it says active duty and reserve sailors granted facial hair accommodations will be allowed to receive medical treatment for up to 12 months under a new Navy grooming standards. But if the irritation they face from shaving is incurable, then they will be evaluated for discharge, right? So that'll be a good thing. But you see, Jake, they want these types of careers. Oh, I'm gonna lose my career. I'm gonna lose my pension, or I'm gonna lose my whatever. And then this guy Peach Headstuff, he's holding Bible studies, and he's so damn Christian. He's the super Christian in the damn White House. Trump is just all of a sudden super Christian. You know, they're the Christian nationalists. They're so Christian. Well, why aren't they keeping the scriptures? Of course, that Psalms 50 and 16. It keeps coming out on Esau because he's being exposed. This man has the scriptures got nothing to do with what you so-called. Even your so-called Jesus got a damn beard. Even though he look effeminate as hell, but he got a beard. Let's get that Psalms 50 and 16 real quick. Calling you Edomites out, man. Psalms 50 and 16. But unto the wicked, Yahweh saith, what hast thou to do to declare my statutes, or that thou shouldest take my covenant in thy mouth? Like, what are you doing with the Bible? Seeing thou hatest instructions and casting my words behind thee. Why can't the man... See, he'll tell you... I remember when COVID-19 came around, and they actually had articles talking about men need to cut their beards so those fucking masks can fit their faces on perfectly. I remember that. So if you worked a job where you had to wear a mask, in certain cases, you had to cut your beard. You know, that's even Esau with the fast food restaurant shit. You know, you got to go and flip goddamn burgers and look like a little boy. You know, I get it, you don't want hair in the food, but shit, motherfucker got hair on his head. That's where hair nets come in at. I remember I was working a job when I first came into this truth. And, you know, they seen a bunch of so-called black men running around with beards. And the so-called white man, he found that to be tacky somewhat. Or, you know, he didn't like that in his place of business. So he came up with this hookup, you know, where, you know, they gave us a time period where we had to cut our beards. And as soon as they made that announcement, I remember it was a speech, you know what I'm saying? You know, they give you assignments before you go out and do what you got to do. And as soon as they said that, I was like, well, shit, I might as well turn my shit in now because I'm not cutting my beard. And then this one lady, Eve, she pulled me to the side and she was like, well, you know, well, let's just see what's up, you know, real quick, whatever. And I was able to get a religious exemption. And I can remember having to show up at work. This lady, it was another lady, so-called black woman. She came off a whole nother shift. She didn't even work the shift. I worked midnights. I'm talking about this lady came in at like 3 in the morning, 3 a.m. and had a sit down with me, one-on-one. There was nobody else. It was just me. Out of all these hundreds of people, it was just me. And she sat there across the table from me and she was like, yeah, I would like to know about this religion. I was like, well, you know, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. And she's like, yeah, we like to learn about new religions and this, and this, at this. Because, you know, this is a company that has thousands of employees, so to speak. Billion-dollar company. So she gave me my little waiver, and she was like, well, you know, we can order you beard nets, you know, like a net, you know, where they can go on your beards, like how the hair nets is, you know what I'm saying? Like they pretty much invisible, because, you know, it's just like, you know, they just hook around your ears, and the beard is tucked in good. It actually made your damn beard look real fucking neat, as if it was nice and trimmed, you know, because it pulled it in, you know, but it was, you know, my beard was puffy though still. But I was able to wear those beard nets. And then I can remember in that building, all those guys that had those big bushy ass beards were looking at me. And I could see them chattering and asking, whispering, how he still got his beard? How he still got his beard? All them niggas in there was naked face. And they all done it for the sake of their job. And that right there reminds me of going into Revelation 13:16, where it talks about the microchip. So for that microchip, or to keep their jobs, to keep their livelihood, to keep their money flowing, to take care of their families, a lot of our people are going to take that microchip. The same way them guys cut their beards, they didn't have no integrity. They wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? They was like, shit, I need the job. I've been here for years. I'm making good money. I was like, fuck that. I'm ready to go. Like, I might as well turn my shit in now. Everybody was looking at me like, nah, we can turn this shit in on now because I'm not cut. And that was when I was very young in the truth, very first coming in, because I never knew that we supposed to have beards. And when I found it out, I grew my shit out. Like, fuck it, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, bet, because I never knew that. I never knew that I wasn't supposed to be cutting my beard. I never knew. The pastor's not teaching you that, man. But I can remember being in that big ass building every night, and people used to be seeing me. How he still got his beard? How he still got his beard? That religious exemption went through. As a matter of fact, it went through again. The Lord looked out for me again with the COVID-19 at this newer job. Because once I left that job, I went to another place, and COVID-19 jumped off. Right? And they was like, well, you gotta, gotta take this shot, or you can't work here. I was like, well, shit, fuck it, I'm out. And then, I put in for the religious exemption, and I was like, well, shit, if it worked, I'll be here. But if it don't, I'm out. I'm not taking that shit. You know what I'm saying? I prayed to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. I went into the scriptures. I gave him the scriptures because it was like a PDF file. I was emailing back and forth with this lady from wherever home office she was at, whatever city she was in. But I would email her the information, and you had to give your reason as to why. I left Bible scriptures, and I gave we're not supposed to pierce our skin, or basically the script. Matter of fact, this actual scripture, I got away from it. But if I had a read on in that particular chapter with the law, it talks about tattoos. So a needle piercing you like that, I went off into a few different scriptures, but I remember maybe 3 or 4 days later, she sent me the email that I was approved. You're good. Now, mind you, everybody at my job had took that shot. It was one other guy. I remember one other guy. He said he put in he appeared to be an Edomite. I don't think he was, though, but he looks like an Edomite. I saw him today. But he was like, because we was just out conversating, he's smoking 1,000 cigarettes. So when I'm walking in the building, I always see him. But he was like, did you take that, he kind of went into it. I was like, nah, man, I ain't take that shit. You know what I'm saying? I said, I done a religious exemption. He was like, oh, me too. Mine went. But me and that dude was the only person that I ever heard about a religious exemption. And then I started to see, they started to post pictures on the wall of men that had passed away in the cafeteria. Now, I don't know how they passed away, but I do notice that I never seen nobody with an obituary. You know how they have your, where your funeral is going to be. They have a picture of you up. This was such and such, you know what I'm saying? He was into sports. He was into this. But I remember every week, it was a different fucking picture up in that cafeteria with them so-called white men. And I definitely believe that it was the shot, man. But saying all that to say that you're going to have to stand on business. We're going to have to come to a point where we like, man, fuck Esau. Fuck these jobs. Fuck what he got going on. We're not to take any of this shit or any of this, and we should be praying to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua for that spirit of endurance. That spirit of fuck Esau. Willing to go out with a bang, man, in his truth, man. Fuck Esau, because we're at the end of this thing. We don't want to be caving because this motherfucker he feels as if he's got the food and the water. Now we got to pay rent and all this shit. No, man. Isaiah 33:6 says that the Lord, this wisdom and this knowledge shall be the stability of our times, man. Right? So, going back into the article, I know I said that I gave that story, and I was just kicking it with my uncle down the street. He was like, when he was going through boot camp, he had a mean-ass sergeant. Well, they all kind of mean. But he said his sergeant kept a razor in his pocket. If you were standing in line, and he walked up on you and he seen a scrub, he said the guy would pull the razor out of his pocket and flick your face with that bitch. I was like, damn, like that? He was like, yep. So that's that military bullshit, because my uncle was in the military. Okay, but it says, the new guidance doesn't apply to waivers for Navy grooming standards submitted on the basis of religious accommodations. Because, see, a lot of those sinks, you got those, they kind of look like Arabs. They have those head coverings on. They can keep their beards. They don't get them people no problem about their beards. Mission accomplishment hinges on stringent compliance with standards and ensuring implementing policies are clear, unambiguous, and comply with the law and regulations, the Navy Administration message said. Grooming standards add to sailor and mission safety, ensure the safe and proper utilization of protective equipment in all naval environments and operational conditions. So, to put on those masks, and different shit like that, shit fitting your face and all that, that's what they talking about. But you, Jake, don't have no business in this man's military. What the fuck is you doing in his military? Let the so-called white man fight his own fucking wars. Let him go kill, steal, and destroy on his own, man. It says the announcement follows a February Pentagon memo, which Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said that troops who require medical shaving waivers for over a year will face involuntary separation. Sailors experiencing razor bumps or irritation resulting from shaving are to report it to their supervisor so that they can receive a military medical evaluation and treatment plan. See, they don't give the treatment plan is you stop shaving. That's the treatment plan, dummy. Service members, especially suffering from diagnosed skin conditions like pseudo folliculitis barbae, are instructed to provide medical findings, recommendations, and medical provider signature to their command so that they may be approved for a shaving accommodation. Okay, so this particular thing, I don't even want to try and pronounce it again, but it says it leads to unwanted bumps and painful ingrown hairs. Why do you think it's ingrown hairs? Because our hair is curly. We have wool. Our hair is like wool. Like how the scriptures talks about our Lord in Revelation chapter 1. That's woolly hair. If you cutting it close to the skin like that and it starts to grow back, and it can curl underneath the skin. That's what that is, man. Ingrown hairs, basically. Matter of fact, it says it right here. Painful ingrown hairs after shaving. Service members must prove sincere religious beliefs for facial hair waivers. And they don't want nothing to do with no Hebrew Israelite. But if you're a Hebrew Israelite, you shouldn't even be in there. About 60% of black men, which were not black, were just different shades of brown, and were Hebrew Israelites, man. If you're so-called black, you will be from the tribe of Judah, the same tribe as Yahushua, which the world English calls Jesus. That's the true name of the Son, Yahushua, which means he's a savior or deliverer in the Paleo Hebrew. That damn alarm long as hell, Salakia, y'all. And the true name of the Father is Yahweh, which means that he exists, or the existing one. Okay, but it says medical treatment plans will last no longer than 90 days, but service members are allotted up to 90-day blocks for treatment during 12-month spans. Commanding officers will make the final decision on whether a service member is approved for a shaving waiver. Yeah, you walk off in there and you looking like you got measles at the fucking head, or the measles on your damn face. They can't help but approve the shit. I've seen some severe, man. That's some nasty. Whew. Ingrown hair, that shit hurt. Service members with approved accommodations are only allowed to grow their facial hair out to 1/4 of an inch from their skin, and should carry their accommodation with them at all times when they are not shaving and in uniform. Yeah, man. If a sailor reports to a new command, they must present their approved accommodation and treatment plan to the new commanding officer so that the CO can review it and permit them to continue their accommodation. After 12 months, a sailor with facial hair accommodation will be evaluated to see if they're allowed to continue serving. Service members with an incurable condition face the possibility of being administratively separated if a medical evaluation board determines the service member's condition is permanent. Administrative separations for sailors with a permanent condition will begin no earlier than July 8th, 2027. We're praying we out of here by then. The service has gone back and forth on the severity of the grooming standards. The Navy reviewed a policy in 2020 that would end the need for permanent shaving waivers for those that diagnosed with that particular skin disease, so to speak. In 2022, the service altogether halted separations for sailors and facial hair conditions. The Navy also announced in June that it will be reevaluating religious accommodations for facial hair that doesn't adhere to grooming standards and implementing new procedures in the near future. So, you naked face ass caveman, that's your hookup. You know, your skin, you have a recessive gene. Your hair grows straight out of your face, so you good. It grows straight out of your back, hairy ass shoulders, hairy ass neck. You know, you're the original caveman. But see, you Jake don't have no business doing no shit like this. Matter of fact, let's do this to get to it a little quicker. Just gonna put in what Bible scripture. I could have just said it. Show you how serious it was with King David and his army. Damn Pete headset, fucking weirdo. Yeah, this is the story of King David's men having their beards cut, recorded in both 2 Samuel 10:4 and 1 Chronicles 19:4. King Hanan of the Ammonites humiliated David's messengers by shaving off half their beards and cutting off their robes before sending them away. Right? So let me just go into it. Let's go into 2 Samuel 10:4 real quick. Beards are, are a part of our culture, man. It's a manly stature, so to speak. 2 Samuel chapter 10. I'm gonna read it in the Amplified. So Hanan took David's servants and shaved off half their beards and cut off their robes in the middle as far as their hips and sent them away. When David was informed, he sent messengers to meet them before they reached Jerusalem, for the men were greatly ashamed and humiliated. And the king said, "Stay in Jericho until your beards grow, and then return." So why couldn't they just return? Because it was, it was humiliating for their beards to even been cut like that. They cut I think it said they cut, like half the beard. Yeah, it says half the beard. Imagine half your damn beard gone. You got the other half on the other side of your face. You can't do nothing but, cut the other side off basically and restart. That was humiliating, man. Right? Yeah, and David got at them too after that. It says when the Ammonites saw that they had become an object of hatred to David, they sent word and hired the Arameans, the Syrians of Beth Rahab, and the Arameans of Zobah, 20,000 foot soldiers, and the king of Maacah with 1,000 men, and the men of Tob with 12,000 men to fight for them. When David heard about it, he sent Joab and the entire army, the strong and brave men. So, it was a war over that. They could have been like, "Oh man, fuck it," you know what I'm saying, But that was humiliating. That was them fighting actions, man. Even though it goes off into David. If you read into it, this particular king, his father had died, and David was sending condolences through those messengers, and in return, some of that king's men was like, "No, David, he's not sending condolences. Basically, he's spying the city to take it." So that's when they done that to David's messengers, cut off their beards or whatever, half their beards, and so that's pretty much the story on that if you want to read through it. But they got their asses handed to them, and that's that. But these men had beards. But isn't Pete Hegseth let's put in here. Let's see, isn't Pete Hegseth a Christian? I should put, let me try this. Bear with me. So I put in, if Pete Hegseth is a Christian, why does he want his men to cut their beards if the Bible says not to mar it? Of course, they're probably going to tell you that equipment shit, though. Just curious. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's policies are driven by military discipline rather than religious interpretation, while some Bible passages like Leviticus 19, what I just read, do instruct men not to mar the corners of their beards. Hegseth's enforcement of a clean-shaven military prioritizes uniformity. So basically, your priorities are above the Bible? but you supposedly be a Christian. These people. That's why I read that Psalms 50 and 16. See, so these people are hypocrites, man. They're not really about the scriptures, man. See, so his word. So, but you got the Bible, but you having Bible study at the White House. But of course he got that racist ass pastor. These people are racist, man. I don't, you Jake, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans that join this man's military and get to acting like you're Americans, you're a fool, and the Lord is gonna get at you. But like I said again, I'm gonna end out. This could be a blessing for a lot of the brothers. You know what I'm saying? That they won't have to go to this fucking military, or if they try and come with a draft, or they got, hey, look, man, I'm not cutting my beard. So, you know what? Were they gonna throw you in a chair, strap you down, and buzz your shit? They gonna force that shit on you. They gonna force a shave or razor to you. What are they gonna do? They could though. Esau, he don't give a fuck. At that point in the game, because he feels as if your property. Because we are. Overall, we're still slaves. You know what I'm saying? But none of these other guys, your so-called white men, they're not joining the military. Which it should only be them. I don't get you niggas ever wanting to join the military. But they are about to come with that draft. And when they do come with that draft, they're going to get to talking to you about how you going to have to go your ass in there. And they're going to recondition your ass. They're going to reprogram your ass. And starting with your beard or facial hair, if you got any of that going on. You got any of that going on. And it's really, let's put in white men with shaved beards and just see how nasty they look. It's a nasty look. It's just nasty. It's something about that shit that just ain't right. That pedophile look, that pedo look. Let's see. Let's get some images of a white man with their beard shaved. Here you go. Looking real nasty like. Look at this guy. This is what he wants you to look like. He wants you to look like this recessive gene degenerate. This is what he wants you guys to look. This is what he wants you to look like. The guy that played Superman with that hairy ass chest. Why don't you niggas go ahead and grow all that hair out your shirt, man? With your hairy ass back. See, they got that haircut. That look. This is what Esau wants you so-called black men to look like. He wants you to, clean your damn face up like this here. Just looking disgusting. That shit just don't look right. Matter of fact, let's get this guy. Let's just put in Pete Hegseth. He wants you to look like him. Let me see. I should have put in images. There you go. He wants you to look like this. This is what he wants you to look like. And you, Jake, go in there and you do it. This is what he wants you to look like. You can't put a razor to your motherfucking face every day. You know what I'm saying? Because you can clearly see he's got a little shadow right here. That's a shadow right there. He's doing that. He's putting a razor to his face every single day to keep that look. Jake can't do that, man. That shit'll destroy your damn skin, bro. You can't do it. Now let's put in Jake. We can end out here. You heard about the Zod. Let's put in black men with razor bumps. That's a nasty look too, boy. It's a nasty look. Look at that. Ooh, look at that there, boy. That's nasty work there. See this shit right here, all that ingrown shit? That shit is painful. Look at this nigga's neck, man. Look at that. Look at that. You ain't supposed to be, cause see some Jake here is coarser than other Jakes here. Some Jake can do this and it don't even do nothing to him. You know what I'm saying? But in a lot of cases, Jake can't take this. This is not natural for Jake, man. You know, they give you these shaving creams and shit you can rub on, and oh, look at this nigga's neck, bro. God damn, that shit look disgusting. That shit you can't tell me that shit not painful. Here you in the military and you got on a damn helmet or whatever the case may be, and it's all up against your skin like that. That shit, man. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Anyway, I'm gonna end out there. I do pray that the lesson was edifying, but again, I think this might be a blessing for some of the brothers, man. Some of those guys that, you know, they could be a part of the 1/3, or they could be a part of the hopefully elect, and the Lord is actually pulling them out of this military on shit like this right here, just in time enough for them to not get involved with World War III, man. You know, that's a beautiful thing if that's the case. But anyway, you know, that's just me speaking as a man. But with that, pray that the lesson was edifying. Kwame Yasha Allah and the Baba Ball.